All right, folks, it is August 13th, 2024, and there's a lot of things taking place in the world. Apparently, Ukraine says it has seized 1,000 square kilometers in the Kursk offensive, and of course, Putin is not happy about that and is vowing a worthy response, and all along those lines. So, got something going on in the news, and in the Middle East, they're saying that U.S. efforts to calm Mideast fighting face a critical week. The last chance summit for an Israel Hamas deal leaves the East on edge. So, no more negotiation. Hamas is demanding a Gaza truce deal implementation, and Hamas says it wants implementation, not more talks. And the helicopter pilot in a fatal Australia hotel crash was ground crew who had apparently attended a party the night before. So, definitely that's something going on because apparently he had attended uh, a party. Looks like a party for them the before the flight, and definitely he had apparently also not flown in Australia ever before. And tropical storm Ernesto is plowing through Caribbean islands, and definitely looks like it's doing some damage in that area. And then it might be heading to the Virgin Islands, and then we'll see if it impacts those of us here on the East Coast. And Netanyahu is accusing the defense minister of anti-Israel narrative, exposing the rift over the war in Gaza. So Netanyahu has clashed with defense minister on Gaza, and apparently that is exposing a kind of schism in that area. And Israel and the U.S. are bracing for an Iranian attack as diplomats push hard for the Gaza ceasefire. And definitely, they're saying the Middle East crisis, Israeli military is at peak readiness as the U.S. warns Iran could attack this week. And if you want something that's a little bit more on the positive side, a trove of artifacts from Egypt's last dynasty has been found. So, excavations in Egypt have unearthed troves of ancient artifacts from its final dynasty. So, I'm sure that's probably worth all kinds of money, and I'm sure that the museums of the world will probably be getting parts of those digs and all along those lines. So, who knows? Maybe they'll be coming to a town near you in the near future. And photos are showing a massive wildfire raging in Greece as residents near Athens are forced to flee home. And definitely that's something going on. We reported that on yesterday, but it's still going on. And drop-in winds offer hope as firefighters are battling a huge wildfire on the fringes of Athens. And apparently, the doctors are on strike across India to protest the rape and murder of a trainee medic. So, no further loss of time. CBI is to probe the Kolkata doctor rape murder horror. So, definitely, it looks like the India doctors are on strike to protest the murder of that medic. So, there's some protests going on there in India as well. And it looks like two victims of an ancient Pompeii eruption have been found, along with gold treasure. So they found the victims, and then they also found the treasure because apparently the two new Pompeii victims were found clutching coins and jewelry as they met their doom. So definitely that looks like that is something else that is one of those ancient discoveries. So a new discovery in Pompeii brings to light the remains of two more victims of the AD 79 eruption. But I guess they found the treasure that they were looking for, but then fate or destiny took their life, so all they could do was clutch it. And who knows, maybe they've got it in the afterlife or something along those lines. But who knows, since we have not got any news from that part of the world that I'm aware of. By the way, Trump and Musk talk about the assassination attempt and deportation, doing what some folks are saying was both a glitchy and in some cases a rambling interview and everything. And that took place on yesterday and all along those lines. So that is something that folks are definitely talking about. I did not watch the interview, but who knows, maybe I'll see it later on. And maybe some of my fellow hosts have found it as well. And apparently, Elon X is struggling with technical problems, so maybe that was part of the problem with the interview. But they did say that Trump rambled and slurred his way through the Elon Musk interview. As a matter of fact, the USA Today article called it an unmitigated disaster. And the Kamala Harris's campaign is criticizing Trump for serving "quote unquote" self-obsessed rich guys after the interview with Elon Musk. So definitely that's something else going on as well. And Biden is announcing $150 million in research grants as part of his moonshot push. So that's the push that he even talked about doing his campaign that was supposed to be about cancer research. So Biden is to tout Cancer Moonshot Initiative in New Orleans. So definitely that is something else going on. And I remember that was part of the campaign pledges some 4 years ago and all along those lines. And apparently there are some progressives jostling for national security jobs under Harris and all along those lines. Who knows, maybe even Roy Cooper and some of the others might have some ideas from jobs that they might want should Kamala Harris win and all along those lines. But it should be quite interesting in what happens in that. FBI is again opening probes, is opening probes into attempts to hack the Trump campaign. So FBI probing alleged Iran hack attempts targeting both the Trump and Biden camps, and all in that way. So they're saying that they suspected Iranian hackers have breached Roger Stone's personal email as part of an effort to target Trump campaign. So definitely it'll be interesting going on there. And it looks like both Harris and Trump are backing proposals to end federal taxes on tips. I'd also heard that Trump had some ideas about ways to protect Social Security as well. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. And it looks like a key Senate matchup and a squad member on defense. So Ilhan Omar competes for another term. Wisconsin Senate showdown looms, and there are several Tuesday primary races to watch as well. So there we've got 18 primaries to watch in Missouri, Michigan, Washington, and Kansas. So it looks like Omar will be facing a familiar primary challenger, and the squad faces final primary challenge as 4 states, those states that I just mentioned, go to polls on Tuesday. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what happens in that space since Jamal and Corey have already lost theirs. But the last time I checked, I think she was well ahead in the polls. Judge rules against RFK Jr. and fight to be on the New York ballot. And definitely that's something that was going on. I did hear that he had been accepted here in the ballot in North Carolina. So he lost in New York, but he won in North Carolina. Apparently in New York, he was disqualified for using a sham address for residency, according to what the judge says. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how this works and how many ballots he is able to get on. But he is on the ballot here in North Carolina, because I did see that in the news yesterday. And a Colorado clerk has been found guilty of giving election deniers access to voting equipment. So a former pro-Trump county clerk is found guilty of tampering with voting machines. So that's something that folks will be paying attention to as well. And, a lot of people are excited about Los Angeles getting the Olympics and all along those lines. I don't know how excited they are about some of the weather that's coming there in that area, because apparently there was a 4.4 magnitude earthquake that was caught during a live broadcast on ESPN. So it looks like the earthquake hit the Los Angeles area and all in that space. And of course, the late night talk shows are having a field day with some of the Trump claims about the fake Harris crowd size, or at least that's what Trump is claiming, and all along those lines. So they're having a field day making jokes about that and all in that way that is going on. And some folks are wondering whether the attacks on Walter's military service will stick like they did to Kerry 20 years ago. So definitely it looks like that's going on. And even a CNN anchor a couple of days ago was pressing Vance on Trump's military deferment after those attacks had taken place on Tim Walz. So definitely that's something going on. And if Trump doesn't have enough problems, apparently sheriffs that were investigating a burglary at the Trump campaign office in Virginia. So a burglary at Trump campaign Virginia headquarters were caught on the surveillance camera under investigation. And folks are just being bold with burglaries these days and everything, because I'd even seen here that there was a gentleman that took a video took TVs and took everything, other things from our local downtown or near downtown Salvation Army. And I don't think that they have caught the gentleman as of yet, but it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that space. And an ex-Cornell student has been sentenced to 21 months for making anti-Semitic threats and all along those lines. Cornell student was accused of threatening to behead Jewish babies, and he was sentenced to prison. But it looks like he was a former Cornell student. And Arizona is the latest state to add abortion measure to their November ballot. So Arizona certified an abortion rights initiative for the November ballot. And a Texas woman was denied abortion for an ectopic pregnancy, and she is demanding a federal investigation. So that's something else going on as well. So definitely a lot of things happening, even in the election space, even Wisconsin voters to set the Senate race and decide on questions limiting the governor's powers. And the letter from El Mayo Zambada that was the scandal in Mexico. So apparently the Sinaloa cartel leader Ismael El Mayo Zambada's case takes a strange twist and all along those lines. So there's stuff going on with the cartel and all along those lines. So definitely be interesting. And of course, we've got the Democratic convention getting ready to come up very shortly as well, and all along those lines. By the way, there was an extremely unusual quote as a retired U.S. general reacted to Defense Secretary Austin announcing guided missile submarine to the Middle East, and all along those lines. And last but not least, I heard that there was a shakeup in the corporate world, because I believe that the folks that were in charge of Starbucks will now be run by the guy that ran Chipotle, because apparently the guy that was in charge of Starbucks was ousted out, and they have named the Chipotle president as his replacement, and all along those lines. But I'll get in here and bring in Rick Rosner, who's with me here today, and also bring in Jacoby. I see Sasha and others are in the background, and all along those lines. Yeah, there was just some different news that I had heard and everything. Did either one of you, because I did not watch it, I've had things going on in some of my other jobs and all in that space, but did anybody watch the Elon Musk interview? And if so, what did they think?
I tried not to, but people were tweeting at me saying that he was slurring his words. And so I clicked on for about 5 minutes, and there was like a confused discussion about nuclear. Trump was like afraid of nuclear heating. And somehow that's what he by that he meant nuclear weapons or heating up the world. And then Musk got him back onto like nuclear, but it was incoherent. It was weird, and
it's Trump. I mean, what else can you put it right now? I'll state it again. The worst move Trump did was to get J.D. Vance. People started paying attention to J.D. Vance's words. Trump's words, lies, all this crazy stuff he's always talked for years, that's been baked in the cake until he got J.D. Vance, and people started listening to J.D. Vance. And now people are finally listening to Trump. And the same stuff that he said last night on the stuff with Elon Musk, Elon lied about it being a DDoS attack, which it wasn't, because Twitter was still working. But it's just, he repeated the same lies. The odd thing, he started talking about how beautiful Kamala Harris was. It was awkward. But again, it's Trump. People are listening to his words, and that's what's starting to really set in now. Yeah. And yeah, the whole campaign. I mean, once they did the campaign against Biden, saying he's crazy, saying he's too old to do this, then they got J.D. Vance. Now people are listening to his words. Now people think Trump Republicans are going after Trump, trying to complaining now he's not staying on message and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's just Trump. People are starting to hear him.
Musk is claiming that they got 1 billion views for this thing, which is crazy, because
they had 1 million, not 1 billion. He's got.
They're saying 1 billion. There are only 300 million people on Twitter, and so it's.
He got 1 million, not 1 billion. I mean, come on.
They're saying Musk is claiming 1 billion.
I think he's spending too much time with Trump. and he's just starting to lie.
Blah. Something comes out. Blah. Whatever.
Meanwhile,
is one thing. I know it's Trump. Oh, look at my crowds. I've got hundreds of thousands of people. He'll have 1,000 people in the room.
Meanwhile,
when he opens his mouth, you have no idea what's going to come out.
Meanwhile, Mark Cuban was on. Mark Cuban was on John.
He cannot be serious. He didn't.
About Mark Cuban.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Mark Cuban was on Jon Stewart, gave a 25-minute interview, completely coherent, great business plan. He's disrupting the prescription drug and healthcare space by doing pricing transparency.
Yeah.
Freaking Mark Cuban is the billionaire we need.
Yeah, but speaking of transparency and all along those lines and everything, I've got a question for Sasha because there's two financial things. I mentioned one of them, but apparently Starbucks named Chipotle CEO Brian Niccol as its next chairman and CEO, replacing Lachman and Narisman. And there's also this notion, because I know one of your stocks is very much NVIDIA and everything, and there are some folks that are saying that its stock is rising and that it is set for a quote-unquote drop the mic moment as investors anticipate a massive AI demand forecast from the CEO of that company, Jensen Huang. So I just want your take, one, on NVIDIA and whether there will be any pushback now that apparently Starbucks is going to be run by Chipotle and will run by the Chipotle head, and whether that's going to increase or hurt their stocks, since you are in there.
Well, market very favorably reacted on a CEO change at Starbucks. Stock was, last time I saw it, about 20% up in just half an hour. So this is very positive change. We'll see how it will develop and so on. Now, speaking about NVIDIA, it was one of the stocks which were targeted by short sellers, hedge funds, and so on, with only one idea, is to separate investors from their money. They succeeded. A lot of people got margin calls and so on, had to sell stocks. Actually, I bought more stocks instead of selling. And it seems to me that the strategy will pay off, because now NVIDIA is unstoppable, and rightly so, because all they can produce now is being taken over by companies like Meta, Microsoft, just name it. So it's, in my opinion, in the near future, it will be $150 stock, and in a few months from now, maybe 9 months from now, it's going to be definitely $200 stock. And good luck to short sellers and all the idiots who are trying to make some money, but in fact they will lose a lot of money. Now, you were talking about Trump. I feel sorry for what I see happen with Trump, because I'm just a few years younger than he is, and I can see what's going to happen to me in a few years. As I'm seeing what's happening to Trump, it's complete deterioration. It's mental, physical, and well, he never was 100% healthy, but at least he had some energy, and at least he could focus for maybe 10-15 minutes at a time and deliver the message, whatever he had to do. Now it's not there. It's not there. He cannot follow his own messages, and he's getting into all this narrative to complaining about Democrats. He still believes that the Biden has to be the nominee for Democrats, that Harris is nominated illegally. He will be challenging that, and he will be challenging many other things, and so on. I feel sorry for the man. He is just not there. And when Biden was on the campaign, so you could favorably to see that, okay, Trump is a couple of years younger, but more importantly, he has much more energy. He moves better. He compared to Biden, he looked okay. It's like the lesser evil of the two. Now the one evil is gone, and he is the only evil standing there. That's a horrible, horrible picture. And I think that
I have an interesting theory. I have an interesting theory, and I'd love to hear particularly Nick Stott, since he's the lawyer in the bunch right now and everything, but it just everybody in general. Part of what happened with the Biden campaign was that disastrous interview or that disastrous debate and everything. Now, apparently Trump has had a similarly disastrous situation with this interview and everything. So is there any possibility legally that we might get what people wanted in the first place with just two younger candidates, and that Trump will be forced to step down, making Vance the presidential candidate, and then he'll have to pick a vice president and everything? So is there any possibility legally out there that we might get what many people said they wanted, which was not the debate between, not the campaign between the two old
The
candidates?
best scenario for Republicans is if Trump will either die or not assassinated, just die of natural causes, or maybe some kind of infection in his brain, which is quite obvious by now, but it will lead to his demise. Or if he will be put into mental institution and will be deemed incapable. So if one of these two scenarios, then by the way, then Republicans have a real fighting chance. And I'll tell you, they could defeat Democrats in this scenario.
Shoot, now I'm turning into Trump. I can't talk. Trump has hollowed out the RNC. His daughter-in-law runs the RNC. I'm not sure there's enough of a Republican Party to even try to push him out.
Hey, Rick, along those same lines, there's a candidate that you keep bringing up and everything along those when we talk politics, and sometimes he has some issues as well, maybe around his mental abilities and everything. But as you heard me mention, North Carolina has said that RFK can stay on the ballot. New York, on the other hand, has said that he had a sham residency, so I guess he tried to claim he was living somewhere that he wasn't living and everything, and they don't want him on the ballot, and they have voted that he can't be on the ballot. But North Carolina did say that he can be on the ballot, and there was a whole conversation about third-party candidates being on the ballot here, and they're going to allow his I forgot the name of his political party, but he formed a new political party in order to be on the ballot. But what is your thoughts around this notion of RFK playing the role of spoiler?
He's polling at 4.9% right now, and I think he'll pull more loonies from Trump than he will from Harris.
Well, and I will say that, I spoke with David, who's working on a primary for the third party candidates. He feels like that the Democratic Party does not like Kennedy and hurts him more than they help him. But I want to say something, Sasha, if something happens and Trump isn't running and it's Vance, it's really going to have to be Vance's wife running behind him, explaining every quip and word he says and stating, oh, he didn't insult you. He's not insulting you. They're going to need her. And then actually, if Trump was smart, he would just turn around and put her in the vice president position, which is probably going to have to happen because Vance just can't keep that mouth shut. He is worse than Trump. I feel like that's why he put Trump in. But, neither one of them have any decency about them. And all he did on the interview with Musk was just put Kamala down. He didn't talk about what he was really going to do. It was all about how he survived an attempted assassination, and putting Kamala down. There was, to me, nothing worth. I wouldn't have supported him after that interview. I wouldn't have given him, hey, you got my support, because there was no policies discussed. And that's what I hope David's debate's going to do. I've talked to him. I said, I hope that you are going to put on your platform more of the policies that need to be taken care of and how we really can make America great, not insults and, who ups the other and, racist remarks. We just have to clean up, I guess, the Republicans' mouths a little bit. I'll send them a box of soap.
Okay, there's ridiculous stuff going on. Trump's main plane, Trump Force One, broke down. He got another plane painted it in the Trump colors. I guess it's Trump Force 2. It's Epstein's old plane to fly his buddies to Pedo Island, which
Epstein.
is crazy.
He killed off Epstein so he can get his plane.
Also, J.D. Vance, pictures from college where he dressed in drag.
Well,
So if they were to vote to remove Trump, they would have to vote again for whoever is going to be running. It most likely won't be J.D. Vance because the Republicans who actually run the RNC don't even like J.D. Vance, so he probably wouldn't take it. So it would be, and then on top of that, they're going to start, if I remember, they start printing the ballots in September. So they would have to do it all before September to allow for that Republican candidate to get on the ballot across the nation. So Trump is locked in. So they can't get rid of him. Truthfully, it's going to be Harris versus Trump. And one thing that that they keep running to, the arguments that always tickle me are Harris hasn't done anything in 4 years.
That's
She
not
has
true.
a great record, and she does have stuff that she has done. But that argument doesn't fly because in 2016, people voted for Trump who did nothing, absolutely nothing. So you cannot complain that this woman, who is very qualified, did nothing in public office. Yet this man who had failed businesses, multiple bankruptcies, multiple lawsuits against him in the thousands, was qualified. Yet this woman who has a record hasn't done anything. The other argument is that, well, she didn't win any votes. That argument is ignorant. And remember, ignorance is not picking at intelligence. Ignorance is just a lack of information. Ignorant to the fact of how the elections are run, because we are not truthfully voting for the actual candidate. We're suggesting to the electors that, hey, this is the candidate that we prefer over others. And then the electors themselves vote for the candidate. So what happened is that with the primaries going through, Trump ended up getting more electors to vote for him, and based on, of course, the primaries and so on and so forth. And he accepted the actual win. Biden got the primary and got the electors, and however, he did not accept it. Therefore, it was still up in the air, and the electors can actually vote for whomever they want. However, Harris went around to the electors and actually grabbed all the electors to vote for her. So saying that she did not get any votes is factually inaccurate and not right. So therefore,
and I don't think it matters at this point. This is the situation we have. We have policies and rules when things happen. When someone steps down because they just say, you know what, I just don't feel like running for president. You have the next candidate who is there. That's what the rules and policies are for, which, a lot of the ignorant people, don't understand. They don't get out and read anything because the Republicans banned all the books. So, get out there and get educated a little bit and learn. The Republicans want to ban the books so that you don't know these things. So, just get out there and learn. But, I think Sasha and Rick were waiting to talk.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to mention something that one of the points where Republicans supposed to be quite strong, it was economy. Now look at the economy. Look at the corporate earnings, which are coming almost daily. Interest rates will fall at least 25 basic points in September. Stock market is flying, and not only stocks like Nvidia and others, but almost any stock. So then the unemployment is very low by historical standards and so on. So where is the edge of Republicans on economy? I don't see any. Now, and second thing is about J.D. Vance. Okay, I saw his produced movie based on his own book, Hillbilly something.
Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy. Okay, you can call it that. So you see the miserable. It's actually almost, you have to be there. He's much less than miserable childhood. Most likely he was assaulted sexually as a kid. He was a real nothing. He was a real piece of garbage. And how you can envision, even in a country like America, the piece of garbage is becoming vice presidential material? I'm sorry, that's impossible, period. His relationship with his now wife, he was penniless idiot. He didn't have money to buy a bus ticket for the work interview, so she had to provide it for him. Now, she was hailing from reasonable probably middle class family, and he was handing to her just as his ticket from this horrible poverty and the miserable situation where he was, never mind his mother problems and so on, forget about that, as a ticket to rise and get somewhere. And now when he met on a campus, there was Peter Thiel, who had a speech there in 2011. So he, who was there, 20-something, he started to figure out how to get to Peter Thiel, and he studied his his views on politics and economy and so on. And finally, he got under his umbrella. Talking about his military service, he was he was responsible for spelling for the army edited newspaper. So he did not fight anywhere. Okay, so this myth is dispelled. Then Peter Thiel put him under his wing. He put him in one of his probably hedge or venture capitalist funds or so on. So what did he do as venture capitalist? He was shuffling papers. One friend of Peter Thiel asked, "So how is your new young associate?" He said, "He's okay. He's shuffling papers. He's doing fine." Okay, this is even not a mediocrity. This is a complete phony and complete idiot that has to be run away from the politics together with this brain-dead Trump, and as soon as possible.
I hear what you said.
Are we done with the left Kool-Aid?
No, I had a question.
Mark, everybody here is like left of Genghis Khan. I mean, it's just ridiculous. First of all, you're denouncing J.D. Vance. You have no idea what you're talking about. Jatovy is completely
I know that
wrong,
J.D. Vance shames people for serving 24 years.
It was a great choice. The bad choice was Wirtz. The Democrats made the bad choice. He made the good choice. Donald Trump chose somebody from the state of Ohio, a state that will make a difference in the election. Kamala Harris fumbled the ball on the end zone getting Wirtz in Minnesota, which is a no electorate state, when she had an opportunity to take Shapiro from Pennsylvania, which would have been a home run for her. But she's too stupid to see that. So this could cost her the whole election. So unlike Jatovy saying, "Oh, Vance was the wrong choice," no, that's just Democratic Kool-Aid. He was a great choice. Kamala Harris made a bad choice, number one. Number two, J.D. Vance is stupid. No, he didn't. He went to Yale Law School. 7% of the applicants are accepted. You have to have high grade point average, high LSAT scores, then you go to Yale Law School. Not every Yahoo gets into Yale Law School. And where did Kamala Harris go? She went to Howard. It's like a fourth tier law school. So it's a whole different ballgame. So please do not say J.D. Vance is an idiot. He's definitely not an idiot, and he's definitely was the right choice for the Republican Party. And
Harris is
got a mouth like Trump. It just
Harris is leading.
Let's be objective. You're saying that probably J.D. Vance had a better education than Kamala? Okay, maybe, but
no, he went to a law school that's like 100 times harder to get into. than
Okay,
Kamala
so
Harris.
how he got
Full
there
stop.
without any money, being from devastated family?
I
How did
have
he
no
get
idea
there?
how he got the
Okay,
yellow.
figure out that. Okay,
I have
I
no
don't
idea.
care. I don't care about that. Now, speaking about his students' record, there are now a lot of people coming up who were studying with J.D. Vance, and they're saying that he was complete mediocrity. He never participated in any meaningful debates, never mind political debates. He was mum. He had not a word even pronounced when it was coming to the debate. That's kind of mediocrity you're talking about.
Yeah,
Now, speaking about
mediocrity in Yale Law School.
leave aside education. Leave aside education. Look at what Kamala Harris has accomplished. She was accomplished prosecutor. She was general prosecutor of state of California. What accomplished J.D. Vance? Shuffling papers in the venture capital office. What did he do in his life? This miserable, horrible person.
Not shuffling papers. You're doing investment, Sasha.
What kind of investment did he
do when you?
What investment did he ever do? Give me an example of whatever he invested and would make some money. Anything.
Kool-Aid
He's
is
selling
running
off all of our
Norway
farmlands
out of
to
the
China.
Just want to point out. Just want to point this
Doing a
out.
good job.
Bring the left Kool-Aid in.
Just want to point this out to you, Nick. We'll all agree that all four of these individuals are smart. We'll say that. But that doesn't matter because J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have a negative favorability rating in the country. They have a negative. You arguing that they're brilliant and all this doesn't matter. They have a negative favorability view. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz are a positive. So because you're sitting here arguing something that people really are getting more and more insulted by, attacking their intelligence, that puts their negative even further down. And that causes the election to keep swinging towards where people are positive. People are tired of attacking everybody next to them and saying, well, you don't agree with blank, I hate you for it. You are a pedophile because you don't vote Trump. People are tired of that discussion. And this is why right now that positive.
That's what this panel has done for 30 minutes against J.D. Vance.
Right and also think of it this way. Look at it this way, Nick. Look at it this way. Kamala Harris has only been presidential candidate for 3 weeks. 3. She's already up by 4 points in the actual states that she needs to win in that quote unquote blue wall. She's up and she hasn't even had her convention. So this wave of energy that's going on, that's put her up by 4 points, and people are already attracted to her because of the fact she's younger. She's talking positive. Everything that they begged, that they did not want a rematch between Trump and Biden. This is why. And so now people are leaning towards her. You can argue, oh, well, we're going to focus on policies. Trump doesn't do that. Trump went on Elon Musk's show for 2 hours and talked about all this ugly nastiness and everything else. Trump had a 2-hour press conference before that and lied. And he confused two black people that don't even look alike and have never met. People are starting to now listen in because you have a different option that people are looking at, a youth option. And that's what people want. So you can argue all day and insult Howard all you want, but it's not doing anything but pushing people against you because people don't want to hear that anymore. People want to hear policies, but from a younger person. And Trump's not staying on message. Trump is actually.
Toby, hold on a second. Toby, because one of the things I'm curious to hear. Hold on, Nick. One of the things I'm curious to hear about and everything, because you kind of alluded to it, but it is part of the definitely Republican push and everything is this notion of family values and what you can't talk about or can't talk about and everything along those lines. And I'm going to bring it back to the world of sports because sometimes I'm surprised when people go and use words because apparently in describing the defensive lockdown of one of the in the final game, the gold medal game, when they asked one of the stars about a fellow athlete, she used that word, that B, and y'all can figure out what that B is to describe them and everything. And apparently in a similar type of deal, an athlete for the Red Sox got suspended because they yelled a homophobic slur at a fan in the stands. So they've been suspended 2 games because I guess they got upset and then maybe the fans were taunting them. So they probably yelled and called them an F word or something along those lines. So they have now lost 2 games that they can't play. So are we having less?
Let's go back to the other F word, which is favorability. Walz is the only of the 4 candidates. He's the only one with positive net favorability, plus 11. Vance, -6. Harris, -4. Trump, -8.
I would like to mention something. When you're talking about the agenda, the plans, the whatever program you might have, and Harris is going to have probably delayed this week. That's what's been announced at least. But look at this. You can have the best agenda in the world. Now, if it's implemented by a con man, by a hardened criminal, by convicted felon, then what good is of that agenda or program or whatever you might have? It's worth nothing if you put the criminal and con man in charge of it. So these discussions about the program a little bit here, a little bit there, oh, this guy's doing this and this people propose this, it's meaningless if one of the programs, in case he will win, is con man and convicted criminal.
Just to also point out, with the Trump, the difference between the two is the fact that right now Kamala Harris is outworking Trump. Trump could outwork Biden. That's what his big claim was in 2020, that he's out doing all this stuff, but COVID was there. Trump also could try and do that in 2024 with Biden, but now he can't. He's hiding out in Mar-a-Lago. He isn't doing as much, and people are starting to see that. That's starting to weigh on him. Again, these are things that he attacked Biden on, and it's starting to bounce back on him because he's the older candidate. Also, Mark, just to touch on what you were trying to talk about, there's different contexts. People utilizing different terms in a negative fashion, like saying the man and the man, same 2 words, but depending upon the context of how it was used. Asia Wilson talked about Cooper in a positive light, as if she was the individual that they won. The individual that got suspended for in baseball, he used the terminology in a very derogatory, negative light. It's the same thing that's going on when people use DEI as a slur now. They used woke as a slur. So it's all about the context. And this is, again, goes into the same thing that we're dealing with. Trump and the Republican Party need to get out of the negative way, because if they stay on this pathway, it's still just getting worse and worse for them. And that negative favorability, or that negative net favorability, is just going to go.
The Kamala campaign is only the Kamala campaign is only 3 weeks old. She hasn't had any major missteps yet. But she hasn't had a press conference yet, and the longer she goes without one, the bigger a sticking point that'll be. She's on the cover of Time magazine. Is Time even a magazine anymore? But it does not include an interview. She didn't answer questions.
Just to counter that real quick, though, Rick, to point out, that is the same tactic that Trump used. If we remember, Trump didn't do interviews for a very long time while he was running. In 2016 and even in 2020, didn't do a whole bunch of interviews. But he got tagged for that, but he ended up still with winning in 2016 using that. But I think right now she'll end up having to do interviews because we're in a different era, and I think she will.
Yeah, she'll probably do it.
Even if she doesn't, you got the debate on September 10th,
Yep.
where she'll have
Exactly.
to answer questions.
Whatever to the September 4th debate, are they going to do that one? Because that's the one at Fox and everything. So so September 10th, I think, is ABC, and there's supposed to be a third one. But Jacoby, I had a quick question for you and everything, and everybody wants to come back to the sport just for a minute and everything. But the Romanians have come up with an interesting, novel idea. They are saying that they are cool with Jordan Childs keeping the bronze, but because they feel that they were cheated twice, they wanted to be split 3 ways. So apparently we're going to have 3 bronze medals. So we're having this whole participation award thing going on, because that is the new proposal that they have put out there, is that Jordan keeps her medal, but that both Romanians get a bronze as well. So they're proposing a 3-way split now. So this is something that just came out recently. So what do we think about this 3-way split?
It's all going to court. The IOC has disagreed with everything. The IOC is going to do it their way, and that's their, quote, final decision, which means we're going to see this in court somewhere. I just don't know where yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because if there is that video evidence that they're talking about from the U.S. that was there, it's definitely going to end up in court. Also, on a side note, but still in the sports world, Sasha, guess what? The U.S. and Canada are playing cricket right now, and Canada's down 191 runs.
I would not give the medal back. Come on, she's given the bronze medal. She gets on stage. She goes. What was it? A loaner medal? So are we going to discuss all these medals to be, quote, loaners? They're not real medals. So once the thing is given to her and she's on stage, it's res judicata. It's final at that point in time. And so all this other stuff is BS, because that means you can go back anytime and say, well, I think we should take back Mark Spitz's medals, or maybe we should take back Michael Phelps' medals. We think there was an irregularity. So the thing is, the IOC, once again, is showing how inept they are. And again, I don't blame the XXXY controversy on the individuals who participated. It's the IOC and how they set up the rules, and they set it up for failure. And they set this one up for failure.
Kim?
Well, I want to ask something. We got some good investors here. Exactly what is that medal worth? Can you melt it down and resell it when you're starving and hungry and you're scraping the last bowl of cereal?
It's cheap.
Or, gee, what is it worth? I mean, I'm sure it's not going to pay them back what they invested going there. I just don't think it's worth it anymore. Sasha, what is that gold medal worth? What is it worth?
Well, that's assuming there's gold in it. That's assuming there's gold.
I think it's gold plated.
Pay me money.
But the medal itself, especially for an athlete, is much more than money. Only until they get older will they think about the monetary value. It's the same thing with the championship rings or all these other things that people make. There were actual individuals in the pro sports world that, as they aged, I think it might have been Kareem who sold. No, it was there was some big NBA star. I cannot remember who sold their rings. But it happens. But it's a mental thing to stand on that stage in front and say, I am this in the world, and have this medal to prove that, especially in these events. I mean, heck, I still have medals when I ran track when I was young, and it's just still impressive to think that, hey,
are they going to take them away from you?
I have the answers for you. So a gold medal is gold plated over silver. The value of the silver is about $900. But if you go to sell your medal, they generally sell for between $20,000 and $50,000, with older medals selling for the most money.
Those are gold medals, right?
Hey, tell me just really quickly, because along those same lines of what it's worth and everything, if y'all remember, one of the last stories that I mentioned and everything was there were 2 major finds, one on the Egyptians, and they have found some treasure in one of the last tombs, but there was also some treasure found in Pompeii, and apparently the person that found or was digging for the treasure died in their hunt because they were found clutching their money. So they passed away holding the money because they found it, but apparently they didn't find it in time to get out with the money and everything, and that was from ancient times. So I'm sure that there are people that even to this day are doing that, getting the money, but are dying in the act of getting it. So that'll be interesting to see what folks have to say about that. Sasha, I had a quick question for you and everything, since we're talking world politics and world news and everything. Ukraine has gone in, and we talked about that yesterday, but there's this whole notion of a Middle East peace talk and everything along those lines. I know that Hamas is saying that they want implementations, not just talks and everything, and then there are people that are worried that we're going to be on the brink, because of Hezbollah and Hamas, of a Middle Eastern war. Are we heading into a Middle Eastern war that will be a wider war in your mind, or will there be successful peace talks?
When you are talking about two major wars right now in the world, one is Russia against Ukraine, another one is Israel against Palestine or Iran or proxies or whoever they are. Anyway, whoever is against Israel, doesn't matter. Both Israel and Ukraine are fighting the same enemy, because the Hamas, and even before that PLO with Yasser Arafat, it was all inspired by Russian KGB. And without KGB, there would not be neither PLO with Arafat or Hamas or Hezbollah, or nothing would ever exist. So this is a plot by KGB, but Russia cannot directly fight that territory. Actually, once they did try to fight directly, and they were absolutely liquidated by Israeli Air Force. So they're not going to do that anymore. Now, in Ukraine, same thing. Ukraine with the help from the West, but mainly because their incredibly brave work, the military force, they are now taking over more and more Russian territory. They are already advanced ahead 30 kilometers, about 20 miles into Russian territory. Russian, it's not what the Russia got from Ukraine and announced that it's now Russia. No, it's a Russian territory which belonged to Russia for the last about 1100 years. Guess what? It's no longer Russian territory. Now, Ukraine brought incredible the ammunition, the weapons, the military forces, about at least 10,000 men plus supporting. There are about several brigades that are involved in that. They're using all the Western-produced weapons, including US, Bradleys, and so on. And nobody bothers anymore to ask, oh, can we use this? Oh, we cannot. Oh, I'm sorry. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody. Now, when people in Ukrainian cities, children, are being killed every day, nobody will bother to ask questions. Can we do this or can we do that? It's out. It's no longer the situation that it used to be just very recently. So now I think that Putin must think about ending this war. It's not going well for him. Most likely he will be liquidated by his own people, because when it all started to collapse, Putin will find guilty and prosecute whoever it might be, General Gerasimov or some other people. So now it's very dangerous to be close to Putin, because you will be the first one who will be responsible for this collapse. So the easiest way to save themselves is to liquidate Putin himself. And hopefully it's going to happen soon. I really do so. I really do think so. Anyway, we have in 5 minutes, we have Ukrainian show. We'll discuss.
Well, I think you bring up something important, and that is what is going on with the wars right now, because these are things that impact our world, not just the United States, and we need to stay focused on what's happening. I hope that Russia takes a step back, evaluates what they're doing, and realize that it's a no-win situation at this point, and step down. Interesting enough to me, as well as all the fake blah that comes out of Trump's mouth, exaggerating the problems on the border and people crossing over every time he opens his mouth, the number increases by millions. I mean, by tomorrow it'll be 1 billion. But that's not true. I've talked to David Walker, and he said it's nowhere near the number that comes out of Trump's mouth. But it is. He thinks it's high. But I've spoke with family members who live in that area, and they said that there hasn't been a problem in months. They have not had any of the problems that were being reported in almost 8 months now. So I would really just reevaluate what's coming out of the campaign's mouth about all of this negativism, and just say, okay, fine. What are you going to do to fix it? Because nobody was fixing it when Trump was in office. People were sitting in cells that where they weren't with their families. All inhumane ways of doing things. And yes, this was probably started in other presidents' administrations, but it continues. And I also want to mention something, because I posted it in our private chat. The U.S. leads the world in 3 categories now: gold medals, incarcerations, and money we invest in defense, which is a total waste considering 24 out of the 26 other countries who invest in defense are our allies. We need to get our priorities in order, and it's certainly nothing that the Republican Party has been spewing around.
Yeah, so, Kim, I have to correct you on something. I think we're tied actually with another communist country, because I think
China.
we're tied with China in gold.
China.
So we both have 40 and everything.
China. But that's great. I love it. You know what? But we are leading the world in gold medals with China. So
Hamas has a new leader, who's the guy who
There you
designed
go.
the October 7th terror attacks on
Yeah.
Israel. I guess it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because how many Hamas are left even at this point? 9,000 out of an initial 30,000? I mean, I guess they need a leader, but I don't know how many.
I don't think there are a lot of people running to become leaders of the Hamas, because it's very short-lived position. It's being eliminated every month and a half, so I don't see any benefits.
I don't think they have a good pension waiting for them.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Good thinking,
I have to go.
you have to go, right? Yeah, because we have the Ukraine.
see you on Sasha's show, folks. Just
you.
check us out following this and keep up with the news today. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'll let Mark wrap.
Yep, we definitely have some other things going on in the world, and we'll be talking about those on tomorrow. Get ready to wrap up. And like you said, Ukraine, Russia, and China will be coming shortly and everything, but we'll be following things in both the news as well as in other parts of the world, including sports and culture and a lot of those other things in that space. But yeah, we've had another rich and fun conversation, so we're going to get on out of here and all along those lines, and then we'll be back tomorrow with other exciting news, including trying to find out what other things both Trump and Harris have said. I think that Sasha had brought it up, or somebody brought it up, but it is correct that sometime this week we're supposed to get an economic plan from Kamala Harris, and we'll see what that economic plan includes and all along those lines. And I know folks are also going to be paying attention to what we didn't get to, which is the whole notion of the funding and investments from the Moonshot program, which I think is supposed to be cancer research and all along those lines. We actually had an interesting discussion about health yesterday on a Maxine show. So if you have not watched that show, go back and watch it and all along those lines. But on that note, we're going to get on out of here, and we'll be back tomorrow with more exciting conversations about what's taking place in the world and the news. But right now, it's time to get on out of here, because we've got Ukraine, Russia, and China coming up very shortly.